Welcome to the discussion segment of Development Focus with Jide Ojo on ITV. This day, 24th of November 2021. I hope your day is up to a good start. Yes, this is our first discussion, and we'll be talking about the role of citizens in election and democratic sustainability. And to do justice to that, I have two eminent Nigerians, intellectual juggernauts. One of them, let me start with the lady, Lady Ijoma Inenaya Udensi. She's a woman rights activist. She's members of the Nigeria National Council of Women's Society. And she will tell us more about herself, but there you are, with very broad smile. It's a pleasure to have you join us on this show.
Good morning, viewers. I'm excited to be here this morning.
Yeah, we are also very happy to have you. To our immediate right is a friend and a brother and a colleague in the development sector, Dr. Adedeji Peter Ademefun. He's a brand new doctor in 2021. This guy is very tenacious. So you need to hear his story. I'm so excited to have you. I've been trying to get him on the show for a while, but eventually it found out it worked. Peter Ademefun, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here.
It's a pleasure. He wears several caps. He's a student, he's a lecturer, he's an activist, he's so many things packed into one. So let's start from, both of you belong to School of Politics, Policy, and
Governance. The School of Policy, Politics, and Governance.
Policy, Politics, and Governance.
Excellent.
Okay. Before we even go into that, let's get to meet you. Our viewers would like to know exactly whom you are. What do you do? We will go into the School of Policy, Politics, and Governance. But let's first meet you from the Lady Ijoma. Tell us more about yourself.
Like you already introduced me, my name is Lady Ijoma Udensi. I'm a gender advocate and an entrepreneur. I am the coordinator for the Business and Professional Women Awareness of Fire, and I am the immediate past president of the National Council for Women's Societies, Imo State, Nigeria. I am a student of the School of Policy, Politics, and Governance, and I'm here today to hold this discussion as we educate Nigerians on the need for citizens' participation in the political process. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that introduction. So, Deji, let's get to meet you.
Okay, thank you very much, Jide. I am Deji Ademefun. I work with an international organization, the ActionAid, and an anti-poverty organization that seeks to work with in rural communities to strengthen systems and structures and engender inclusive participation for community, particularly as an anti-poverty organization that views poverty eradicable in the context of Nigeria. Past Student Union Secretary General of the University of Benin, and I'm excited to say that an historical trajectory of what we are as a political economist is bent on our continued zest to contribute our quota to the advancement and development of our country, Nigeria. And this is why we are here. I'm also a member of the pioneer cohort of the students of the School of Politics, Policy, and Governance. Trust me, we've had some very engaging period, and Dr. Obieze Kwesili has brought this initiative to Nigerians to ensure that opposite systems are created to ensure that Nigerians have the best of the best that can man or coordinate our governance systems and structures in Nigeria. So basically, thank you, Jimmy.
Okay, that's very insightful. So let me come back to Lady Ijoma. you are an entrepreneur, you are a gender activist, you are a student of School of Policy, Politics and Governance. What is your motivation into doing all of these things you do? And how do you create time out of your busy schedule to be able to do all of this?
Thank you, Jide. It's all about passion, it's all about focus, and it's all about doing what you're excited about. See, all the roles I play segue into that vision to see a great Nigeria, to see leadership by example, and to see a prosperous nation where citizens appreciate their obligations and their duties, and where leadership will take accountability and responsibility seriously. Okay,
still with you. Today is the start, if I'm right, start of 16 days of activism.
You're in the spirit.
I'm in the spirit. Okay, maybe they didn't tell you. Last week we were actually at the Gender and Equal Opportunity Advocacy Forum, and so these 16 days of activism, what does it portend? What is the rationale behind it?
The world came together and realized the need to tap the huge potentials of the women in development. They have come to agree that no nation will develop to its greatest and fullest potential without the input of the woman. We've also come to realize that a jet engine, a heavy-duty jet engine that has 2 engines cannot fly on 1 engine and be effective and efficient. So where the world has come to realization that women are important in the scheme of things, women are important to be on the discussion tables where policies are defined, where policies are crafted, and where they are implemented. But in developing societies, we're a bit late to the uptake. Maybe due to our patriarchal society system and due to the years of socialization that believe that women have nothing to bring to the table. But then they're beginning to see that it is necessary to bring in women. And women are beginning, if we say, if you do not say, here I am, or if you just say, I am, nobody will say you are. So women are now taking their chances and taking their locks in their hands to say, we are here, we are capable, we have the capacity, we have the ability. And this 16 days of activism gives us a window, beautiful window, for us to engage, for us to go visible, for people to know what we can do and who we are, what we have upstairs, and know that it is important to bring us onto the table, into the table, where policies are formed, where policies are implemented, and where they are monitored, because we have the voice of the conscience of the nation. Women are important, women are very important. So we do not take these 16 days very lightly. Even as I speak now, we have an ongoing engagement that's been sponsored by ActionAid Nigeria, and it is the 2nd annual Women's Conference. It's a beautiful day between today and tomorrow, where women from all walks of life, all perspectives, come together to engage on issues of concern to women, one of which is the state of insecurity in the nation now and what it portends for women's participation in the political processes that's just begun. There's so much to say.
Okay, well, there's so much to say and there's time to say it. So we will say. Deji, you got your PhD in political science. You were a student union activist way back in Uniben. You once told me that it's a sin if you don't go into politics. And so you've come fully prepared. You've gone out academically. The only thing after this PhD is professorship. And I'm not sure whether, anyway, let me leave that to you, whether you are, when you leave ActionAid, you are going to go into academia or you are going into politics, but whichever way. So run us through, what was your doctoral thesis? What was it on? And how do you think that project can be beneficial to Nigeria?
Excellent question, Jide. And trust me, it's an intense experience. But to say first that it is political economy and development studies, and the nexus between politics and economy is what we try as much as possible to engender in terms of how economic dynamics impact politics and how politics also affects the distribution of scarce resources. Because really, why we have politics is because resources are scarce, and these resources are being competed for by several ends, and that is why we're engaging in the political process to define who authoritatively allocates these scarce values to competing ends.
According to Amos Laswell.
Excellent. Thank you, Jide. But trust me, it's quite intense, and you know, leadership is prepared for. Trust me, the next point of leadership is when you have the right information, when you have the right preparation, and when preparation meets with opportunity, then you can achieve success in whatever position you find yourself. And it's not about just having political leadership alone. Leadership is first leading yourself. Have you been able to lead yourself in the context where you find yourself? And before you talk about leading others within the context of society and within the context of government and the governance processes, which is quite important. And in terms of my thesis, my trajectory in the development sector started with the National Democratic Institute for International Affairs, and then I picked up interest in a particular methodology called the parallel vote tabulation. When PVT was introduced in Nigeria, I was one of those team members that first got a glimpse of it. Richard Klein from the United States of America brought PVT to us in Nigeria, and I have several colleagues in all the spaces, including currently in Yaga Africa. Yaga Africa is currently deploying the PVT. But then the challenge was that there was gap in literature in terms of academic study around the parallel vote tabulation globally. So at the University of Ibadan, for my master's dissertation, I'd engaged to really underscore the importance of PVT as an election observation tool to engendering election integrity, ensuring that electoral outcomes actually reflect the true voices and choices of the citizenry, and then see how PVT, the parallel vote tabulation, has been able to contribute to that process in terms of providing real-time election updates and results. So I took that interest and I engaged, and at the PhD level, I scaled up that research, of course, to see what are the changing dynamics, what is the political economic nexus, and I give you some very interesting facts from that thesis. One core thing that we found out was that the cost of politics further exacerbates challenges driven by the cost of governance. And I tell you, poverty is one issue that drives people, for instance, to sell their votes. And I give you a quick analysis. So if you must buy 1.8 million votes, you need 5.4 billion naira to buy 1.8 million votes.
At what rate?
At 3,000 naira, for instance. Of course, we go by the statistics, the Diboko Sebe phraseology from one of the elections in the Southwest in 2018. In 2018, you'll see that people sell their vote for as much as 2,000 naira to 5,000 naira. Poverty has been weaponized, and you don't blame them, because the level of education, political literacy the citizens have at that level is really low, and the premium value is lost to them in terms of the ballot. They do no longer value the vote. They believe it is a time to aggrandize wealth, and of course that is what we are also speaking about in terms of our campaign to proliferate communities at that level, and it's called politeracy, really, to ensure that the middle class and the lower class citizens really have the right information to make their choices at the ballot. And of course, in liberal democracy, choice is quite important, and choice election is one platform that makes people make right decisions at the ballot. And of course, in modern liberal democracy, it's an issue of social contract, and in a social contract, the citizens and the representative are supposed to maintain the order in terms of the contract that have been signed on to. So I can go on and on, but then maybe for now.
On a lighter note,
yes,
your
please.
First degree was UNIBEN,
Yes.
Second degree was Ibadan, University of Ibadan, and your third degree, your PhD, was University of Abuja. What informed the choice of your institutions?
Excellent question. I do not like sedentary academic life. Of course, I try to do, by the grace of God, the geopolitical zone representation. I'm from the southwest, so I decided to go to the south for the first degree, then foray into back to the southwest actually, and then to northern Nigeria for an academic experience. But then we've also had very extant paper delivery, southeastern regions. Of course, at some point, I was a zonal program officer for the Transition Monitoring Group in Nigeria, coordinating all South-South states. But then it gives a national level experience of how the governance and the political process really runs in Nigeria.
Let me come back to Lady Udensi. Madam, looking at let me ask, when you chose to enroll at School of Policy, Politics and Governance, what was your motivation? What else do you need to know that you don't know already, that you think the School of Policy, Politics and Governance will add value to what you are doing?
Excellent question.
I'm asking all the excellent questions, and I don't have the marking scheme. Everybody is an excellent question. Okay, that was on the other one.
I'll tell you how I got involved with the School of Policy, Politics and Governance. I've always been the one that's a lifelong learner. I believe in personal advancement. I've been in and out of schools doing things. So when I see any opportunity to add to knowledge, I jump at it. Actually. And as a development worker, we haven't told you that we are involved in grassroots mobilization of local women's rights organization to challenge the cultural norms that exacerbate violence against women and girls. That has been my beat in the last 2 years, sponsored by Action Aid Nigeria, the anti-poverty experts. That has been my beat. So on that beat, while I was out there in the street, community level mobilization and engagement, educating citizens, educating women on their rights actually, and then telling them that there should be zero tolerance for violence against women and girls. There should be zero tolerance. It should not be tolerated at any level. And then we began to see that there was power dynamics was part of what supported violence against women and girls at those levels. So once again, when I was on that bit, I saw the opportunity through one of our networks, advertising for students to come in there, and then if you have any interest in politics in your future, you're running running for elective positions in the future, or supporting the process, you should come into the school. And our mentor and the person who started the Fixed Politics, Obi Ezekwesili, a great mentor for women in the political space. When she came up with scholarship for the first cohort,
excellent.
It was like, wow, this is an opportunity, meeting preparedness. I jumped in at it. And it was a grueling process. We literally did not have any time for ourselves for 9 months and more, and even now continuing, because this is part of our capstone project for the group 3 of the first cohort. And the essence was to know what policy formulation, the dynamics of policy formulation, what made good leadership. And there was one word that did it for me: disruptive thinking, disruptive engagement, taking things and doing things out of the box, to seeing leadership as a position of trust, and seeing the office of the citizen defined. If we had a sound and effective office of the citizen that will hold government and leadership accountable at all levels, then our politics will advance. And what we're talking about here is a better Nigeria, sustainable democracy.
Excellent.
If we do not want them to rip it and tear it to shreds, we must have an engaged citizenry. We must have a literate middle class. We must have a very literate, even lower class.
Excellent.
That will understand the essence of politics and the need for engaging only the leaders with conscience and with virtue, who understand that that manifesto is not just a paperwork, that manifesto is a sacred trust, and it's a separate duty that you owe to make sure that those things that you enshrine and those things, and that their party ideologies are not just for them that come for the boys, but that party ideologies should govern everything you do on the political space. And that we did not give you that, we did not lay down our rights for you as a leader because we do not know what we're doing. But at each point, we must engage you at all levels, even down to councillor, to ask you, what did we send you there to do? Are you doing it? So when I saw that opportunity of broadening my knowledge, of being in that point of power, because knowledge is power, information is key. We are in a knowledge-driven world and society. What you do not know, you do not know. So because I now know what I know, I'm able to go back to the grassroots while I'm telling them to abhor violence and to resist violence and to challenge the structures that feed us with violence and allow women to live in fear of violence. I'm now going to tell them that's an essential element of this that you must know. If you choose the right leaders, then that right leader will join you and work with you to say there will be no violence against women and girls. And then if you choose the right leaders, they will be gender sensitive. They will ensure that there's a balance, that there are equal opportunities for women at the negotiating, the discussion, and the agreement and the policy-making tables. So when we have all that, what next? What better motivation than what I have just enumerated for joining the moving trade?
Lady Dancy, again, staying with you. We have Violence Against Person Prohibition Act. We are advocating for Gender and Equal Opportunity Bill. While we advocate for Gender and Equal Opportunity Bill, the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, how much implementation, in your own view, has come through that VAP Act?
It might interest you to know that even though many states in the nation have domesticated it, some states have not.
Yeah, that's true.
And we're still grappling with the challenge of having every other state come to the same level of we have signed on to it, domesticated it. And you know, in Nigeria, when we have policies and when we have laws and bills that have been promulgated, signed into law, then the first and the most critical element is implementation. And I'll tell you without fear or favor that the implementation is rather way too low, way too not up to snuff. We have the law, I agree with you, in so many states, but then they have not been implemented. You can bet you some women do not even know that there is a thing called the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. So the level of implementation still leaves a lot to be desired. And then we'll get into that because what you do not know, like I told you before, knowledge is power. When you don't know that the thing exists and it's to your favor, then you won't even appropriate the benefits that come with it. So if you're telling, we have the VAP law. Nigeria signed into it many years ago, 2015 to be precise. My state, Igbo State, sad to say, we have not signed it into law. We are still campaigning about this 16 days of activity.
But Enugu has done so, several other states have done so.
Sadly, my dear, the House of Assembly has signed it into law, but we are waiting for our dear governor to assent to the law. And then that becomes a working document.
I believe
now, we do not have the VAP.
I believe Dr. Senator Opos Oduma will do so. I mean, copying from what happened in Enugu and some other states. Now, back to you, Doc. Rule of, Lady Udensi was talking about the office of the citizen. And here we are trying to examine the role of citizens in elections and democratic sustainability. Break it down for us without sounding academic. Break it down for what is the role expected of citizens in election first. Let's deal with election first. Because, I mean, I said in my opening statement this morning that we are hoping that the president will sign the electoral law, the electoral bill 2021 into law. Maybe before the end of this week or before the end of this month. There are optimism that unlike what happened in 2018, he will sign the current one that was passed, even though there is a controversial clause about direct, indirect primary. But we hope that will not stop the president from signing. But what role has the citizen to play in the electoral process?
Thank you, Jide Ojo, and it's a very important question you have asked. But first, let me say that election is not democracy. Election is an instrument to attaining a democratic state. Because election in itself does not happen in a vacuum. So you have the pre-election period, the election day period, and the post-election period. Citizens have roles to play in each of these periods. So for instance, the continuous voter registration is going on. For those who have just attained the age of 18, who want to register to vote, there are off-cycle elections in Ekiti and Osun 2022 in June and July. And
area council elections.
Area council,
in February next year.
Excellent. There are several elections coming up. And for 2023 general election, it's an opportunity to get on board the mainstream to vote. As a civic duty, if you have attained the age of 18, it is your right to participate in the electoral process. As a citizen of the country, you do not have a right to question bad governance process if you were not part of that narrative to contribute your quota to cast your vote, because you had the opportunity to really determine who gets what, when, and how. So in terms of citizens' role pre-election, you could, yes, you need to participate, register to vote. You need to ensure that if you want to, and if you have to, join a political party. And of course, people talk about political parties not having ideologies. For me, I differ a little because I think a bad ideology is also an ideology. So I would not say political parties don't have ideologies. The extent to which the interest of members of the political party is aggregated and articulated through a manifesto will determine if this is a bad ideology driven by a political party or a good one. So as a citizen pre-election, it behoves on you if you must gladiate. And what I mean by gladiating means if you must participate to contest. There are three levels. You're either a gladiator, a transitional, you are just part of those who sponsor candidates, who provide support, or you are a spectator. Spectator are those who join party campaigns and all of that. So you can participate at that level at different levels. You know, unfortunately, young people and women, and I do not agree less with Lady Udensi when she spoke earlier about women participation in leadership and governance processes. And I tell you, from where I sit, the Foreign Commonwealth Development Office is currently supporting an intervention in Kano and Kaduna, seeking to increase spaces for women and young people. It's called the WIU project. And these are extant interventions that want to see that more people get involved in the process. On election day, it's a different narrative. You need to get to your polling unit where you have been registered to vote, get accredited, and vote. And the most important thing is to stay with your vote and ensure you defend your vote. There are new initiatives by the Independent National Electoral Commission, exciting initiative, of course, years of civil society producing reports, findings that have helped to really strengthen the system Before now, it was never like that. So we are not saying it is uhuru, but then it means we are not where we used to be. By the introduction of the bimodal accreditation system, of course, adds a few challenges. They just concluded a number of elections, but then there are lessons that have been learned, and we expect the election management body to scale as you go to other off-cycle elections and 2023 general elections. So as a citizen, it is expected of you to register to vote and actually vote on election day. Unfortunately, some citizens have seen acquisition of voter card as a means of identification. As a means of identification in banking transaction. Unfortunately, those are the narratives. Or when you want to board a flight.
One form of identity.
Exactly. Yes. Unfortunately, and that's why we say in the school of policy, politics and governance, we are increasing and amplifying issues around political literacy. Which is quite important. We need to engage the citizens and form community of practice at the local level, at the grassroots level, the state level, and at the national level to ensure that most citizens understand the value that is attached to their vote cast. Okay. And post-election period, it's another narrative entirely, and that is where you really define the context of democracy.
The issue of democratic transition. Let's stick with the issue of election. Lady Udensi, what has been your experience talking to Igbo ladies? How have they embraced electoral participation? In the just concluded November 6th Anambra governorship election, we have the women of Ebelebe who decided not to sell their votes. The same way we had the Aba women rioting in 1929 to press on for resistance against colonial oppression. What lessons do you think we can draw? What form of participation have you seen working in grassroots with women groups and all of that? What are your joy? What are your challenges working with them in providing this electoral literacy or political literacy that is so important?
Great again. During the last elections, I was privileged to work with INEC as a peer educator. I was in the field at the grassroots. We were educating women on the right attitude to vote and voting in the electoral processes. And I can tell you with all joy and pride that the women we work with, you said the Igbo women are quite politically aware. Mm-hmm. If you want to make a headway in politics in the Southeast, you must engage with the women very actively. You must market and sell yourself and your ideology, because they are very, very aware. They are. Except when they are unhappy with the situation, which most of them are at the moment. Because they follow through with the news. If you go to the police stations, women are the ones who come out very early. They come out not only to stand in the line, they come with their chairs. There is what we call the kitchen chairs. They come with it. And they come with their egusi and with the things they will do. They sit there patiently and wait through the process. And I can assure you that in recent times, most of them follow through to where the election results are held. And that is very excellent for me as a field worker, educating people in the processes. We go using, you don't even need to go using your local language. You don't use cliches. The women are aware and they understand. But the thing is that the challenge is that from years and years of abuse of the process, many have started to think that it's no use suffering through the election process, only to get their wishes upturned by the system or by the judiciary. I can tell you that that's quite a challenge. That's apathy arising from the fact that when they took all the trouble to vote, at the end of the day, the result is not what they expect to see. The last time I was in the marketplace discussing with the megaphone, what they were telling me is, our votes don't actually count. We vote and they do what they like. And so that becomes a challenge to the Nigerian politicians. That becomes a challenge to the Nigerian, the election organizing body, to make sure that they get us to the point of trust again, because trust has eroded.
Let me ride on that. I'm still with you, Lady Udensi. Arising from what they just said, weaponization of poverty. Women, my knowledge of Igbo society, women are very powerful. You have the Catholic Women Organization, CWO. You have your Mothers Union. You go for August meeting, and all of that are powerful forum and platforms that you can reach out to women. Market Women's Union, associations, very powerful, just like town unions and all of that. Now, weaponization of poverty. How has it affected your campaign for citizen participation in the electoral process? Because I have also been on the field like you over the past 2 decades, and I've done training where people say, all right, we know what you are talking about, but you see these people, even if you don't collect this money from them, will you see them for another 4 years? And this may be the only thing I will get. There are no good roads, there is no hospital, no primary health care center are overgrown with weeds, and there's no schools. Many of the schools are dilapidated. So people are not seeing the dividends of this democracy. And so they feel that, they are poor, they are hungry, they need to feed, and after all, it's their money, it's our money. Even if he stole the money, it's our money is given back to us. Have you encountered this kind of reaction, narrative when you go on your peer education missions?
That's exactly the scenario. But I tell you that our people have a never say die spirit. I'll still tell you. And usually what you meet in the field is, he that is down needs fear no fall. Our psyche has been bruised and battered. In fact, they have feminized poverty. When you want to see the picture of poverty, they use a woman. And that is why what feminists and what gender advocates are up against. We do not want that anymore. The woman is not the most vulnerable. We've seen vulnerable men, especially when it regards to poverty. But using a feminine face as the face of poverty is not acceptable to us anymore. Even though they have weaponized poverty, but I can assure you that women are resilient, especially in the Southeast, because of the level of organization we have. Yes, they'll tell you, when you go to the field, they'll tell you, yes, it's our money. When they bring it, we will take it, but we'll still vote our conscience. But now by Eunice, Madam Eunice, brought a new dimension to it. And that is what the campaign has been about, the campaign of conscience. Like I mentioned before, that women are the conscience of the nation. You get a woman, you get conscience, active, very, very active conscience. And when they believe in a cause, in a struggle, women go all out. We go all out for it. Especially when you see a woman and her child. When you touch a woman where her heart is, especially where her child is, be ready for a fight. And so women have come to see that the battle to sanitize the democratic process, the battle for elections and voting and making sure that we have good leaders, is a battle to save our generation. It's a battle to save our children from the neglect that we have suffered. So this is why you see women with a new mindset. This is why you see Eunice. And I can tell you that when there is one Eunice at Ebelebe, we have several Eunices at so many places. We have women who have started up and said, if I know we carry this campaign to the grassroots, we have peer educators who take on, we call them local response team. They take it on and orchestrate it and re-strategize and tell us in fact how to penetrate the community where we are working. And so I can assure you that bruised and battered though we are, down as we are, but then resilience like the Beatles spirit, never say never. Women that we encounter in the field resist it.
Okay, so our time is getting sparse. Please, viewers, you can join us on this program by calling the studio line 0809-9871-989. I repeat, our studio line, if you want to weigh in on the role of citizens in elections and democratic sustainability, please do call us on 0809-987-1989. It will be displayed on your screen. So back to you, DG. Democratic sustainability. What role as citizen? What role have we to play?
Thank you again, J.D. Ojo. And again, it's a conversation around the concept of voice. If you take away interrogation from democracy, then it is tyranny. If citizens are no longer able to speak and interrogate a process and demand accountability and transparency within the gamut of our governance processes, then there is tyranny. In terms of the role citizens should play in democratic sustainability, you need to be able to demand accountability from your representative.
What kind of accountability are we talking about? We have our first caller, so let me pick this.
Yes, please.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir. My name is Henry. I'm from Abuja.
You said your name is what?
Henry.
Henry from Abuja. Okay, what's your question or comment?
Yes, my comment is on the issue of the democratic layout that the so-called politicians play, the rules that they play. The months I was speaking, and like they said, that there is no way the community people can be rest assured that there is the situation for the free and fair election. So that the economy, when you look at the situation of the economy, people are suffering, people are in hunger, there's no food, the economy is frustrated, and now you're expecting them now to just come. We don't want you people to do anything, just give us the money. Give us the money for the election. We want to vote for you. That they begin to sell votes because they are already fed up with the situation and narrative of the democracy we've been in for the past maybe 10 years now. So the only situation I think it will be, it's a situation whereby we can decide to say, okay, what is the effort to eradicate the such scenario so that it does not reoccur again. Now somebody, earlier this morning, I was listening to AIT this morning, and somebody was saying that the post is a governorship ticket over 2 billion naira this moment. Now if you want to become a governor, and that is the kind of amount of money you pay to buy a ticket to become a governor, who cannot, the poor people cannot afford it. So it is still the same people in the system that will still be there to influence the people. And
thank you very much, Henry. Let's give other people chance to come in. I think your point has been well made. Thank you very much, Henry. We appreciate. Please do call us. The studio line once again is on your screen. It's 009-987-1989. That is the studio line. So, DJ, back to the issue around democratic sustainability. How do we achieve that? We have transited from election.
Yeah.
Election has been held. Yeah. Inauguration has been held. Now governance has taken place. What role as citizens to play?
Yeah. Unfortunately, we are not able to separate the outcome, the process of our elections from the impact on the governance itself. There is a patronage and clienting system that affects the governance process. So politics has become transactional. So of course, not to mention specifically, but in the history of this country, a representative have said, yes, you voted for me, but I paid for it. I paid heavily for it. So you do not expect any democratic dividends or anything from me when I get to office. It's a patronage system, and unfortunately this patronage system also determines who gets what in terms of political appointment, who gets what in terms of employment, and unfortunately, as we speak today, unemployment rate is pegged at 3.3%. It's unfortunate. So still with you. The last caller, Henry, was talking about cost of running an election. Somebody spent billions to become a governor, and you expect him not to recoup his investment. Osun Ekiti form in one of the parties 22.5 million to buy a nomination form. That's just buying. I know even here in Abuja, you can get a piece of land for 10 million and build with another 12 million. Excellent.
And you will have a home.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what somebody uses to buy nomination form. That is outside of what is spent on campaigning, whether political adverts and all of that. So look at the cost of election and cost of governance, and I know how that affects our democratic consolidation project.
Unfortunately, again, primordial sentiment, ethnicism also determines our electoral outcome. Maybe I should state at this point, and a caveat, that we have a good electoral outcome does not translate to good governance if the citizens are not able to hold government to account. And I must say at this point, not because I'm from that sector, the development sector, but that the civil society has played heavy role in bridging that gap between the citizens and the governance structures that we have in the country. Unfortunately, the civic space is also shrinking. Unfortunately, the civil societies are also having challenges in terms of making demands for accountability on the system. You have extant platforms that ensures that citizens are aware. You have budget, you have all of those. People need to be politically literate, understand what the context of governance is to be able to demand accountability. So I go straight to a platform, and I find that in my local government, I'm from Irele local government area of Ondo State, and I find that in my local government chairman has been allocated XYZ for this infrastructure. It behoves on me to ensure that I do what is called project tracking. Oh, they have said they are building pipe-borne water here. Where is this pipe-borne water after 12 months? Those are the dynamics. Those are the shenanigans that happen within the system. And that's why we still say it here and reiterate that citizens need to continue to ask questions. We will not stop speaking, because if we stop speaking, the incidences of corruption within the system will continue to deepen. So post-election, in terms of sustaining democracy, you have your choice and your right to demand for accountability. I have elected you on whatever platform you came in for. You are representing me. You have my mandate. And because you have my mandate, you need to be accountable to me. And the system for accountability is another different conversation entirely. But then citizens need to wake up to this responsibility to demand accountability from their representative.
So, Lady Udensi, as we gradually wind up, there has been this notion that the reason why there hasn't been much impact in demanding accountability, in demanding good governance, is because we work in silos and our voices are staccato, you know. We are not having concerted demand, and that if only we can build critical mass of people to demand for accountability, we will get the kind of change we expect. How will you react to this assertion?
Very correct. And we can see that when it played out during the NSANS campaign. My colleague mentioned the shrinking civic spaces. And even though we have signed into the Freedom of Information Bill, we do know that in reality, information is not.
Sorry, we have another call. Hello? Hello, good morning. Can you tell us your name and where you are calling from?
I'm calling from Abuja.
Your name is what?
My name is Mohammed.
Okay, Mohammed, please move away from your radio set. What's your question or comment?
Well, my comment about the helping the politicians responsible for what we voted for. I want to say one thing, that those politicians, they have jobs. We as the electorate that voted them, instead of asking them to come and accountable to us what we have said them for, they started using those jobs to take us away. How do we respond to that? Pushing them to come and give us accountability of what we have said them for.
Okay.
So that's a big challenge.
So the challenge is we are not even demanding. Mohammed, these representatives have constituency offices in their community, in their constituency, which is paid for by federal government. They have offices in Abuja or state capital, depending on whether you are talking of state legislature or federal legislature. How many of us have even written or paid visit to those constituency offices to say, I'm submitting a petition, or I demand to book appointments to see the senator or to see the honorable member? Have you done something similar?
Yes, in the past.
And were you attended to?
No.
Okay. Don't give up. The fact that you attempted once and it didn't work does not mean that you should give up. There are other ways you can escalate. If you have the phone number of the honorable or the senator, you can call. If he doesn't pick your call, send SMS. If he doesn't, check him up on WhatsApp, leave message. That
particular period they were talking about, that's one certain day we went to meet one senator. And then he was telling us that what are we doing in Abuja here? Hence, or that we are here fighting. We now asked what about your brother? They said his brother is a dog. What's a dog? You look at the challenges.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mohammed. Your comment is well noted. But let's not give up on the system. We have to continue to demand, and we'll get the right answers. So, lady,
yes.
you are responding. I like the analogy. You brought in the answers.
Yes.
The answers protest. That was a critical mass of people demanding for accountability with Nigerian police. And how come we have not transferred that into the electoral process? Because after that answers, there was a election in Lagos, senatorial election, and the turnout was, appallingly low.
I will tell you. You know that we were brought up in a system in Africa where children and young people are not encouraged to speak. The voices are usually muzzled. You can see from the home when a child wants to ask the parents to account for anything, they say, shut up, you're a child. Who even gave you the audacity to talk? So from when we were children, we were taught not to demand our rights. We are taught that our voices were meant to be seen and not to be heard, and that anything anybody in authority does or says is correct and must be taken. So that is where we are coming from. That's our background. Then we come into this bigger space where we want to express ourselves. Now we meet with a leadership that does not want to be held accountable. So what do? They balkanize you. Wherever they see force, wherever they see synergy, wherever they see people coming together, their first reaction is to infiltrate and destroy and disband. And that's what they have done. If there's an analogy we do during the NSAS, when we're looking at the lessons that at SPPG is disruptive, we think of everything, we talk about everything. We're looking at the lessons from that movement. And then we said, wow, there are two groups of youths. There are the youths, the elitist youths, and the youths that can be bought. Given the transactional nature of our democracy and our leadership, they will now use the money and go and buy those ones and use them to disrupt what these other ones are doing. So our voices, we're gradually coming together. We are learning lessons and moving as we go. So we are not deterred by the fact that they have tried to separate us using religion, using culture, using all this. But then when we go to the football matches, nobody remembers that we all remember that we are Nigerians.
And we want Nigeria to win.
So now that same spirit is coming back again. Civil society groups are working very hard. And that is the whole essence of polytracy. That is why the SPPG first cohort group 3, we are on this campaign to begin again to tell our people that we must synergize, we must network, we must come together. In Igbo, there's a proverb that says, Abaka abaka on your mamre.
I wish I can repeat that. Maybe we have to call it a day. You are taking more than your fair share of our time. But it's been a very stimulating discussion. I want to thank you for coming on the show, Lady Ijoma Inanaya Udensi and Dr. Adedeji Peter Ademefun. They have been my guests since 8 a.m. Talking about the role of the Office of Citizen in the electoral process, in election, and in democratic sustainability. We have seen the nexus, and we have dissected virtually all aspects. I thank you once again.
Thank you.
Wish you all the best.
I don't think this is the last conversation. This is just ongoing. This is just
you are welcome anytime. You can come again as individual or as a collective. The space is actually for civil society to express themselves. That's why we call it development focus. We are focusing on development. So any other time you knock on our door, we are ready to open. But that will be the size of our intervention at this point. Please do stay tuned as we bring you the second and concluding discussion segment.